Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at a video from an It Works hun who I assumed would have been long gone. She was really one of the it girls, at least within my team. She wasn't on my team, but my team was obsessed with her and reposting her content and saying my friend X, Y, and Z. Anyway, apparently she is still in It Works and she's still leading training calls. So let's take a look at one of them and see what these It Works ones are up to. I am going to fast forward through stuff that's not important, like the intro and whatever. Some stuff I'm going to leave, but like it's not going to be anything that we need for context or commentary.
I started with this company almost 8 years ago, which every time I say it, I'm like, that's a long freaking time. It's the longest I've ever been committed to anyone, including my fiance. And that's just a lot, you know? So we're coming up on 8 years. I mean, life looked so different before I joined this. I was 20 years old. I had just dropped out of college because I couldn't afford to attend school anymore. I don't know if anyone has walked through that, but student loans just weren't a route that I could take and I couldn't pay out of pocket. So unfortunately, I had to drop out. And at the time, I didn't have anywhere to go. I don't really have family support. I didn't have a ton of friends in my area. And because I was going to school, I was using that as my housing throughout breaks. And when I dropped out, it was like, not only do I lose school, I lose a roof over my head. And so thankfully, I had a very good friend who flew me across the country to move in with her and her family. And I stayed there for a good bit of time just to get, my feet running under me. I picked up a couple jobs. I started babysitting. I was working at a restaurant as a hostess and I was getting my bag. I got my first apartment and I was like, okay, like, this is good. Like I have my footing. Maybe college wasn't for me, but like I can do this. And it wasn't until a couple months later I got evicted from the same apartment because I did not, in fact, have that. And again, like I don't know if any of you have ever walked through that, or maybe you faced evictions or faced, a month where you didn't have enough money to pay your bills. And that was my reality. And I quickly realized that it didn't matter how much I was working. I physically like wasn't able to pay for a lifestyle for myself unless I did something different. And I didn't know what that looked like. Because I was evicted, I didn't have anywhere else to go. I ended up living in a hotel for a short amount of time. When this business presented itself to me, it was when I was living in the hotel and I was 20, I was working 3 jobs. I was working like, oh gosh, I feel like it was like 80 to 100-hour weeks. It feels like a whole other lifetime ago. But I was working from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed. I was living in a hotel and I really just remember feeling like there has to be more than this. Like I physically don't have more time. I can't even make enough right now working this much to support myself. Like, how am I supposed to keep going? And so when this business presented itself to me, I initially thought, oh, I can't do that. I don't look like that. I don't want to go on trips. I can't even afford to feed myself. And I thought it was really cool what my enroller was doing, but I just thought to
I either didn't know this about her or forgot about this, but we have very similar stories in the aspect that we were in desperate situations. I personally was like living above my means and well, trying to live above my means where I was living at the time. And she was doing the same thing. Maybe not like above her means, but like she certainly was not able to afford the means she was in at a time. And I think her situation was slightly more dangerous than mine. That's just my opinion. But living in a hotel as a young woman, oh my God, that must have been terrifying for her. But this is important for me to stop here and say this, that MLMs will prey on anyone. The more desperate of a situation you are in, the better of a candidate you're going to look like to someone, to a shark in the water. Let's just say what it is. Because MLMers run on desperation. Oh, I had it too. I had it too. Wow, that sucks. So they run on desperation, meaning anyone they talk to, it can seem like a normal, casual conversation, innocent. Your mother, sister, your best friend. Ultimately, once you've been in MLM long enough, she's been in 8 years, like she said. 8 years. I would go as far as to say, cannot have a normal conversation that she doesn't have a small, I would say it's always bigger than that, but at least a small grain of hope that whoever she's talking to is going to join her team. I know that because I was in the business and I understand firsthand the desperation where you hope, oh my God, I just hope that when I add them on my Instagram, they see my post, they're obviously going to be amazed at me because I'm amazing and they're going to want to join my team. And so imagine being that desperate person. You see someone who obviously needs this business. They obviously need your help. She's living in a hotel, which I'm guessing if she's living in a hotel, she is next to homelessness that she could possibly be facing. And an MLMer preyed on her. You are a victim and a perpetrator at the same time in MLM because it's an endless cycle. And the people at the top know that.
doing, but I just thought to myself, like, okay, that's not for me. And it wasn't until a night that I came home, I had worked all 3 jobs, I swiped my key card to get into the hotel room, and I was starving, and it was just a night that, like, you know, when you have a really hard shift and, like, you come home and all you wanna do is just, like, make a sandwich or, like, eat a bowl of like, you just wanna pig out and then go to sleep. Go to lunch after you feel me, because I feel like even just, like, a hard day of momming, like, whatever it is, like, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and I had no food.
Gotta include the main targets. 9 times out of 10, moms, fantastic target. Oh, fantastic target.
And I realized something has to change. And God is funny like this because the very next day, the first post I saw on my feed was from my enroller. And it was the very first post that she had ever made that connected with me. And I will never forget what it said. It said, "Life does not happen to you, you create your life." And that clicked with me instantly. And I was like, you know what? Like, I get to create what I want. And so because I was evicted, I had a bunch of things just laying around for my apartment. I had a TV I wasn't using. I ended up taking that to a pawn shop to sell to get the money to get started because I had $4 in my bank account when I was going to enroll. And so I got the money, I got started, and I ran with it. Quickly, I got myself into the 400 club, and I was making 100, 200, $300 a month, which was
Notice how she's not talking about what her network was like at the time. And notice how she's not talking about how, oh, then I also began to prey on other people who were in situations similar to mine. Oh, I chose the demographic of other students who could possibly be facing homelessness and had to drop out because they couldn't afford their school. Notice how none of that's being said. We're just jumping to the rose-colored glasses, the positive poly pants stuff.
month, which was all I joined for because I joined to be able to get groceries and get myself out of debt so that I could continue living, right? Sorry guys, I'm sick. So with that being said, what I learned in that moment is when you get comfortable in this business and you stop working because you've hit where you're going, it doesn't continue. And so I learned very
Yep, but she's not talking about what really needs to be said here. You can reach whatever rank, let's say, because she's in networks and I was in networks. So let's say your realistic goal you think you can actually maintain is going to be emerald. I don't remember what emerald was. I think it was somewhere less than like $2,000 a month, something like that. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I felt like that was maintainable with the amount of people and the amount of volume that was underneath. I was like, I feel like once I get it, I'll be able to keep it. But then I reached Ruby, which was my like first woohoo promotion. You get like an email and a piece of paper sent to you. Oh, and a pen. You also get a pen. I realized quickly how hard it was going to be to just maintain that first big deal rank. And everyone was so excited, like, okay, like Melanie's finally gonna get it. Melanie's gonna finally do it. And like having people root for me with something that is almost impossible to accomplish sucks. And I felt like I let my upline down. I felt like I let like my sidelines I was on Zoom with all the time down. Like it really did hit me hard when I was like, okay, this is actually not sustainable whatsoever. But she's not going to tell you that. It's not a matter of getting comfortable once you reach that rank. It's more, okay. Because unless you have an upline who is enrolling and can place stuff for you, you're doing that enrolling yourself and placing it underneath, because a lot of people in my experience would tend to join the business and either fizzle out, never talk to you again, or realize how hard it is to just get someone to buy from you and just be done with that. So it's not a matter of laziness and not wanting to do the work. It's more a question of I need a break, because you're probably burnt out by the time you reach any promotion.
quickly that I hit my goal, I stopped working, and I wasn't commission qualified that month. And it's so funny how God works.
Also, if you didn't know what commission qualified is, and it works anyways, you either had to spend a certain amount to be commission qualified or keep some number of customers under you, something like that. And personally, on my team, our uplines encouraged us to not keep customers under us. So, like, imagine you're getting one customer a month. That's realistic for a lot of people. So, you're getting one customer a month, and you're like, oh, I should probably keep this under me so I don't have to like pay out to get my paycheck, because those are the two ways to get your commissions paycheck.
His ways sometimes because I was on the itworks cruise in October of 2016, and it was when prelims got dropped from the month before that I wasn't commission qualified. And
Prelims is when you get to see where your paycheck is going to be.
everyone was freaking out about their 5-figure raise, their 4-figure raise, and everyone's freaking out about their checks, and I opened mine and I don't have one. And that was my never again moment. That was the moment in my business that I decided I was going to go all in, and that I was the only person.
Don't let this fool you. If you guys haven't been around on my channel for a long time, I'm going to tell you a quick but fun anecdote, a quick but fun anecdote. I had a moment like this. I went to a conference and my account went into the negative while we're sitting there, while my upline was giving, like, not my direct upline, not the one who was doing YouTube. And then I've got beef with the people who cancel talk. I've got beef with you. If you were a part of that, we've got beef. You and me, just so you know. But the upline who was way above that, she was standing there with like no expression on her face while I was having my moment and like crying circle time. And I was saying my account, like I literally just looked at my account, like it was like negative $99, something like that. And I was like, I'm never gonna let this happen again. This is gonna light a fire under my ass. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it. Like, this is my moment. This is my aha moment. This is gonna be big for me. Like, I really thought that that was gonna change. Also, her face didn't change. I'm sitting there crying my eyes out about having no fucking money. Negative money. I had negative money. No expression. And that was my moment. But sometimes it works out for people, but most of the time it doesn't.
That could make this work. It didn't matter who my upline was. It didn't matter who was on. Like, I was going to make this work because I made the decision. And so November and December were just months of solid growth, growing my team, growing my mindset. January of that following year, so 2 months later, I promoted to executive. February I went ruby. March I went emerald, and then that following April I went diamond and earned a bonus. And that just set me on a trajectory in this business because I was making not that much at my 3 jobs. And just in going diamond in that 4-month span of time, I had matched my income with 3 jobs. And I knew I had my hands on something special. 11 months later, we went double. And that's when my story kind of takes a turn in the sense of I've been.
I'm going to pause it again there because it would have been better. I don't know what her 3 jobs were, but I'll tell you what mine were. I was a cart girl, I was a nanny, and I was a gymnastics coach. And I picked up this. Had I picked any of those to try to like promote with whatever I was doing to like get more time, to get more money at one of those jobs, I could have just had 2 jobs. Never done it works. I mean, I'm glad now so I can like warn people about it and provide some solace for people who are bitter about what happened to them. How I have my system here set up, jerry-rigged, if you will, just f***ed up. So I don't know what I was saying. Let's move on. Also, subtle plug moment to subscribe, share this video with your besties who were in itworks, maybe, or people you know who are in itworks. Share it on your story, maybe they'll watch it. I don't know. Try to save up for a camera so stuff like this doesn't happen so much. I don't know.
Double since 2017, but in that time I have learned so much. I've grown more as a person and grown.
Her saying I've been double, which is like from executive, like rank to double, is up here. That's also a big deal. I think you're in the 1 to 3%, right actually when you hit diamond. But when she says I've actually been double diamond since whenever, that can mean 2 things. That can mean that she reached that rank and she's maintained that rank ever since. That could also mean that's her lifetime rank. So once you reach that rank, like it's going to say somewhere that that's the highest rank you've ever reached, like your lifetime rank, something like that. Not the rank she's getting paid as every month for the past few years. Keep that in mind because that can be slightly deceiving.
As a leader, and in the time from promoting until now, I paid off all of my student loans. I paid off all of my credit card debt. I'm just a couple $100s away from being completely debt free, and I'll be 28 in like 2 weeks, which is like a huge deal because I was told that I was going to be paying my debt off, my student loans.
Wow, that's really sad. I'm really glad that I made it out of MLM like after my brain developed at 25. Like, I'm really glad that's when I got out. I feel for her that she has devoted her best years to MLM. I hope she has more going on for herself than things that even touch this MLM.
My debt off, my student loans, everything until I was well into my 50s or 60s. I mean, gosh, we moved all over the country. We lived in Delaware, we lived in Maryland, we lived in Missouri. Now we live in Florida. We're also making a cross-country move in 6 months. Like, all over the place. We've traveled the world. We've traveled the country. I found God in this business. I have made the most incredible friendships, built such an incredible community, and truly have just walked into this newer version of myself who I never imagined I would be. My entire life has completely changed because of itworks and because of our team.
I just love that. I know we talked a little bit last night too, but you talk about transparency a lot with your team, and it shows in when you're talking your story. Like there's a lot of that some people are like, I just can't share these parts. And I love how you're so authentically you. And it just, like you were saying, it took that one post that finally resonated. And when you show up authentically, when you show up with the transparency of like, look, my crap stinks. Like my story is a mess. But the thing is every single one of our stories is a mess. We've all been through some crap that we're like, dang, this is not what I want to be telling you guys. But I love how you lead with that transparency, and that just
Yeah, so none of it stands out. Like, I'm sorry, I hate to seem like I'm taking away from the realness of her story, but you have to understand that any MLMer's story, to some degree, is going to go into the gray area, like the truth, bare bones of what happened, lie. It's going to end up here in the gray area, where it's not quite a lie. It's like an exaggeration of the real raw truth. Some people end up lying, but most people just end up in the grind. They're adding some razzle dazzle where there didn't need to be any.
we've all been through some crap that we're like, dang, this is not what I want to be telling you guys. But I love how you lead with that transparency, and that just breeds a whole different culture within your team, but then also within your following. Like you're not just attracting distributors, you're attracting people who are your people more so because you do lead first with that transparency. And I just love that. So why don't you walk us through what this is your question list, so you should know where we're going. Why don't you walk us through kind of like what your day looks like, your daily tasks? Because I know your life and your situation, your days is very different than mine and what I kind of put forward with my team. So I'd love to see kind of what your day looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I will preface, I do not have children. So this task, like the way that my days look, will not be realistic if you have children or a full-time job. But I'll tell you how I work my business now full-time, but then I can kind of talk about how I did it when I was working multiple jobs and I didn't have a lot of time. So typically my days now, I wake up, I do not touch my phone. It is a non-negotiable for me. The very first thing I do, I let my dogs out, I get my coffee, I come into my office and I pray over my life, over my business, over my team. I pray for things that I'm wanting for.
$10, she doesn't pray out loud. Another 10 for that shit never happens. It's more of a thought of, here's what I want to do today. Here's where I want to get going at most. Especially because when you're doing something, I know because I did this. When you are so secluded and alone, even like if she has a significant other, like you're still like gonna be alone most of the time because most people aren't caught up in cults and a lot of people aren't working from home anymore. So she's probably like alone in her office most of the time being like, this is actually kind of ass. And like so much of it is so repetitive and uninteresting. So uninteresting. I am in awe of people who can stay doing something so it's like vomiting, eating it, vomiting again endlessly because it's all garbage for 8 years. Sickening to me. It poisoned a 20-year-old's mind. Her mind was poisoned by MLM or whoever like got to her. Poisoned. And she is 28. Her brain is developed now and she's not figured it out. And she's not figured out the time she's lost.
Pray for healing for certain people in my life. I just pray because if I don't have God go before me in everything I do, I will fall short in everything I do. And I have done it a million times in my business. I've done it in my life, and He'll let you go as far as you can physically go.
Just say you don't have good judgment or good self-control, and therapy can really help you with that.
You can physically go, but then that's where you stop until you ask Him. So I always ask Him to go before me. I then work on my self-development. So I will journal. So I have a notebook. I'll fill a page, whatever I feel called to. Some days it's me writing affirmations. Some days it's me writing more prayers. Some days it's me just trauma dumping. Some days it's me just writing, I am triple diamond, I'm worthy of $10,000 a month over and over and over again. I mean,
all of this I've done. In fact, I had a roommate at one point and I wrote stuff on pieces of paper and taped it all around our apartment. She was supportive. She was great about it. And honestly, hats off to her because I wish she would have ripped it all down and been like, you're not fucking doing that here. You're not doing that. I'm not living with ugly children's looking writing all over the place I live. And it didn't make a fuck difference.
whatever. I'm just, whatever's in my head, I'm going to get out onto a page. I think so often we spend so much time pouring into ourselves, which is not a bad thing, but we don't ever pour out. We have so much up here that we need to get out sometimes, and venting and like talking to someone is great, but just getting it out on a paper and not bringing that to someone else is just like chef's kiss. So fill a page in the journal. I will read my devotionals. I have 2 that I read, so they're like a page and a half, so very quick. And then I will read a chapter from the book that I'm reading. Normally it's a self-development book. Right now it is self-development and spiritual, like kind of combined. Sometimes I listen to a podcast instead of the book. It really just depends. But for me, there are 3 types of development in this business. There's spiritual development. So that's praying. That is reading your devotional, really working on your relationship with God, being in the word.
Imagine you go to your job and they tell you in order to be successful at your job, and let's say it's just data entry, you need to get right with God. You need to develop spiritually and personally to do this job, or you're not going to be successful. You're never going to become a supervisor at your data entry job if you don't develop spiritually. Let's leave that shit at home where it belongs. Your relationship with the Lord is supposed to be personal, not professional. So stop bringing it into your profession.
Then there is also business development, which is the Zooms and plugging into team trainings, like learning about the business. But then there is that level of self-development. So learning about communication, learning about leadership, learning about how to be a better person, whatever it is. So you need all 3 of those to interlock. And I spend time on all 3 of those before I start my tasks. So that way, when I go to my team, and when I start working my business, I'm already full. I feel good. I've already trauma dumped. I already got everything out of my head. And then I poured some good stuff in and I'm ready to go. So normally, I know it sounds like a lot, but it takes me like 30 minutes, like truly not a long time. And as you start to get into the habit of doing self-development, it gets very quick. So I do my self-development and then I'm looking at my task list and I'm like thinking through my day. I will post on my story. I post a story of the products, very first thing. I also go on a walk with my dog, so I will share that on my stories as well in the morning.
Real quick poll here. I love not giving a flying about social media. It's amazing for me, and I know it helped me grow my channel and blah blah blah, but I just, oh my God, does it feel good not being loyal to anything. I could turn off my computer and delete the YouTube app off my phone. I could delete Instagram. None of this, like, it would just go away. It would stop for me. I wouldn't feel guilted by an impossible system to keep going for no reason. I do not miss having to post stupid, boring stuff on my social media just to post something, just so my face pops up like in the little bubbles first and you click on it. And who wants to see that every day? I don't even watch my own friends' stories every day. I don't care. I don't care. And especially if they posted like the same pattern of stuff, because my pattern recognition has developed to be so uncanny. Why would you want to see that every day? That would be so repetitive to me. That would probably like lead to an unfollow.
In the morning, I will post on my TikTok and Reels, so Facebook and Instagram Reels. I content batch every Saturday, so they're already prepped and ready to go. So I just have to click post on all avenues. I will check on my host to post from the day before. I'm going to update my chart.
Also, I just want to say this really quick. If you are in the bottom tier of the alleged triangle-shaped business structure, doesn't matter what company, you do not need to have a batch content day. Please don't do that. Please go do anything else. Go outside for a walk. Go sit in the grass with nothing else going on. Play with your kids. Take them somewhere and do something fun. Literally anything. Watch some trash reality television. Watch Love is Blind. That's what I watch. Watch that. Have a little brain rot moment. Brain rot is good sometimes because you're sitting there, turn your brain off. Because especially for us women, we need moments where we're turning our brain off. We're not thinking for anyone. We're not making decisions for anyone. We're sitting there, brain is off, brain out on the couch, enjoying garbage. It's okay to do. Not too much. It is literally not responsible with your time if you were in the bottom level of MLM to have a batch content day. Please just don't do it. Don't waste your time. You're never going to be glad you did that.
With any like declines that went through the day prior and in the morning, tracking my volume. I'm like looking at it, thinking it through. Because you do this for so long, you're just like, okay, I know what I gotta do and I'm just doing it. And then I look at it and I'm like, wow, this is kind of hard to like say it out loud. I will post on my Facebook And I will normally at that point, that's what I'm texting my team. I'm saying, hey, I'm sitting down.
I'm not saying that she had an assistant, but in none of these calls are you going to see a top boss babe say, oh yeah, I have an assistant, like send these out. You're not going to, well, at least that I've seen, you're not going to see them admit that. Like they're always going to leave that out. So that's why these team calls get so repetitive, because it's going to sound like the same sexless jargon. Self-development, and then I hit my sexless. And then I just do it again and again and again until I get results.
Let's hop on a Zoom. If you need a work Zoom, I'm checking in with my newbies. I am adding tasks into my team chat. And that's when I would go into my follow-ups from the day before. So I'm going to go to the bottom of my Instagram DMs. I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to do it on Facebook, and I'm going to do it on my text. That way I don't miss anyone. And then throughout the day is when I'm going to be sending out follow requests on Instagram, sending out friend requests on Facebook. Our goal every day is to do 50 on Facebook and 100 on Instagram. So I'm just doing that scattered throughout the day. Other than that, that's pretty much what I do. Oh, sending out messages, which I do throughout the day as well. But other than that, like that's the big bulk of what I do. And I try to get it all done before noon. So that way the rest of the day I can do whatever I want. If I want to be lazy and hang around the house, if I want to go out and do something with my friends, I want to run errands, whatever it is, like it's done by noon, the latest like 2 p.m.
Also, I'm going to say something controversial here, and it's going to piss off people I know in real life. Get your kids off the fucking internet. I understand if you have like a private account, like where only like people you personally know are going to follow and see your stuff, like that's not what I'm talking about. But if you have a public account, get your kids off the fucking internet. Thank you, please. And if you're in an MLM, get your kids off the goddamn internet, especially if your kids are, like your profile's public. Please.
Tell me about a time in your business where things weren't exactly going your way, where you were like, okay, something's got to give. And what was the pivot you made that got you back on track?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. When you've been in any type of business, even if you had a coffee shop, like there are so many pivots that you have to make when running a team, when you're responsible for other people. And I mean, I have years of missteps and pivots, but one of the biggest pivots that I've made that has paid off in the best way is this time last year, I had fallen all the way down to executive, which some of you might not know, but that is a big.
Okay, so I take back what I said. So she earlier said that she has been double diamond since then, but she did fall from grace and fell back down to executive. So I'm assuming she was paid double diamond, ended up getting paid as an executive at some point. So I take back what I said. She is admitting that, which I think is good, but also it's going to be part of her story. Her comeback.
Big drastic drop. And I had to take into full account of, okay, I was in a very, very dark place in my life, but I needed to realize that my business should not equate to where I am in my life, right? And so I had to take full account of what I was doing as a leader, what I wasn't doing as a leader, what I was doing in my business and conversations and showing up on my social media. I took full responsibility for everything. Even if it wasn't my fault, I was like, you know what? I could have done XYZ and made it better. And in that, I realized that there was a huge missing piece with training in our team and culture in our team. And I had focused so long for so many years on chasing the dollar, chasing the next mass enrolling month, chasing the next rank, and chasing all these things that I forgot about the people. And it didn't mean that I didn't love them. I just didn't show them that I loved them. And in that, I wasn't training them correctly. I was churning and burning. If you've been in this business for, I mean, even longer than 6 months, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you would enroll 10, they would all quit, you'd enroll 10, they'd all, and it never stuck. And I had to realize, like, it's not that people don't want this or aren't good at it, or you know, they don't want it or whatever it is. Like,
So they created this even though that's why the women joined in the first place. So they created it and then they recreated it. And you see how it's like vomit and then you eat it and then you vomit and then you eat it.
super similar with, like, it's me. Like, I'm not giving them something to want. I'm not showing them how to do it. And so the pivot that we made was next level. We created a culture for my team, and we created this whole community of women who wanted freedom, whatever that looks like for them. Like, that's what we wanted. And I know you guys have done something to see, like, that looks different for everyone, but how do we get there, right? And so I spent the last 350 some days. January 16th is like the official like date of.
And so what happens when those other people who are in your downline aren't working? What do you do with those people? Something that we were taught to do by our uplines was to use them. Like if we really needed somewhere to throw volume for a promotion or someone else's promotion, to help them promote, to help us promote, you would just fill volume under them. Like if they had like some scraps, you'd give them a couple more scraps just to get you where you need to go.
Building everything. We started from no training to now having a very like in-depth training system that everyone is benefiting from. We went from having one person at conference to having 7 to now having an organization of 50 plus working people, which I've never seen before in my business. And it all came from me and pouring into myself. The amount of books that I read on culture, the amount of books that I read on leadership, on communication, learning how to listen and stop talking so much. As I say, speaking on a Zoom, but truly like I poured into myself and I became a student again. And just because I'm good at this business does not mean that I can be successful alone. I have to teach other people how to be good at this. And they don't have to come in and be naturally good at it. I can teach anyone how to be good at this. And when I realized that, it changed everything. And so really poured into culture, really poured into really just loving people and learning how to be less red, put that side aside, compartmentalize that.
She's saying she's red, but I do want to say I don't think I've ever heard a like negative story about her. And if I come off harsh in this video, it's about what she's saying and the sentiments and the teachings from MLM and what happens in MLM. It's not about her personally. She seems really nice. I've never heard a bad story or a bad comment about her ever. I've never seen her act in a negative way. She seems great. Just want to make that clear.
I can be red for myself and I can push myself and I can have goals and I can chase things, but I needed to learn to soften my heart, let people in after being hurt so much, and learn to be more emotionally.
What's that smell? Unprofessionalism. Why do you need to be friends and get deep and emotional with your coworkers?
Intelligent and get to know people, love them, know what's going on in their life, know what they're working towards, and really work with them one-on-one, no matter what their goal was, and not pushing someone when they weren't ready for it. And I have learned that the key to this business, there are a lot of keys, but when it comes to any aspect of what we're doing, leadership, brand new distributor, it's patience and consistency. If you can be consistent doing something long enough and you can be patient in that season of not seeing results right away, it will pay off exponentially every single time. Because a year ago, I had one person on my team as a double diamond lifetime being here for 7 years. And now our team is just, I mean, I'm biased, but like truly, I think we're the bee's knees. Like we're like the best team ever. But that is the biggest pivot, is just learning to take responsibility for what is your fault. And even if it wasn't directly your fault, just taking responsibility,
Fuck that advice. Advice like that, I honestly feel for her because I think she might be stuck in the same mental loop that I was in. Granted, she is actually making money, I'm gonna guess at this point, if she's hopping on the call talking like this, which could be a mask, but you never know. Let's say she is being successful, but that doesn't mean she's not stuck in the same loop that I was stuck in of let's pivot, let's try something else, let's try a new system, and someone else's training might benefit me more than what my upline trained me as. Oh, let me do this and then still not get success. So I hate that this is advice being given to people who I'm assuming on this call are not other double diamond leaders who are getting paid as double diamond leaders.
figuring out how you can do it better the second go around, the third go around, however many go arounds, and just doing it until you get it right. Not quitting and just doing it until you get it right.
You guys are clearly working towards triple. Like that's what's going on here. I'm in the same boat. And like we talked about last night, it's a very different time for us both, coming from what we did last year into this new season. We have a new appreciation, a new outlook. And with that, the cool thing about this business is that up promotions like the tippity tops really are irrelevant, because that's one. Versus to get there, it's so many promotions. And so that's what this season is for us, is how excited we are for you guys promoting. So you've got a team right now who's working for Ruby, Emerald, Diamond. And so within the next 90 days.
Yeah, because how much work you put in doesn't fucking matter. Your promotion is based on everyone else's work. That's not necessarily true either, because a lot of times, and I've heard other anti-MLMers say that, like, your paycheck is being determined by everyone else's work, but that's not necessarily true, because a lot of times, especially on my team, us working people would be the ones doing all the work for all the other people who are working but not getting anything. So like people like me, or people who are just like empty names in your chart that you needed to fill with volume and distributors. You could still be doing all this work and just placing it. And that's why a lot of people get burnout.
How are you coaching them, or what would you say to someone who's looking at like, I need to go review this month and I want to be diamond this, in the 90 days, or they're pushing for these promotions and these big goals? What would you say to them? What would you say to them?
Have your task list and use it as building blocks. I think so often people come into this business and they're like, okay, I got to make $500 a month and I have to do all this work. But then they freak out because then they see all of the work that they have to do, or they don't know how to get there. Have a task list. Truly, like something tangible, whether it's written down, whether it's in the habit tracker app, in your notes app. I don't care what you have to do, but have a physical tracker that you can track what you're doing, because if you cannot track it, you cannot scale it. Okay. And so many times in my business, I was like, yeah, I'm working hard. Like I've been working for like 12 hours, and then I don't enroll. Like I check my screen time, in 6 hours I was on TikTok. I don't even know how you can spend, well, I do.
It's not her fault she didn't enroll anything, because you can do all this work and none of it is a guarantee that you're getting paid. You put in all that work all day for free. Eventually it could become something, probably won't. Most of that work probably won't become fruitful at all.
You get down a scroll hole, and anyway, whole other story. But if you can't track it, you can't scale it. Okay, so you need to know what you're doing and what you're doing well, and you need to know what you're not doing and how you can implement it into your business. Okay, because the amount of people that I've talked to that they're like, I'm doing everything, and then I'm like, okay, what are you doing? And they're like, everything. And I'm like, okay, let's go down the task list. Are you sending out messages? Yeah. Okay. Are you growing your network? Yeah. Are you putting up content? No. Well, I thought you were doing everything. You know what I mean? So having a specific task list in front of you, I'm telling you, it is the key to everything.
They could do this with you. You could sit down with your upline and they could get to, well, are you developing spiritually? Okay, well, that is the missing puzzle. That's the secret sauce. That's what you're missing. That's why you're not successful. And then you could start doing that and still not be successful in MLM.
If you have your task list, if you're on my team, there's no excuse. The task list is everywhere. But, and I'm sure it's the same thing for you too. Have a task list, chip away at things one by one. Stop trying to do everything all at once. Like just focus on one thing. Something that really, really helped me in the beginning of really taking my business seriously was utilizing timers. I don't care what you have going on in your life. Timers are like God send. Okay. And what I mean by this is not saying, okay, I have an hour to work, I'm going to set an hour timer. No. We're going to break it down even more. Listen, I have ADHD. I got to focus. Okay. So when I look at my task list, I'm like, okay, I got to send out 100 messages. How am I going to do this? What I'm going to do.
Fun fact, I was talking to my mom a while ago, and at some point my parents did wonder if I had ADD, and I was like, maybe we should have explored that a little bit, because figuring out the autism thing at, when was that? I want to say like 27 or 28. That makes sense. That fits the bill completely. But there's that. And then it's like, oh, I can't even fucking focus on anything. Well, ADD would make sense too. So I feel for her again, where it's like, yeah, especially when you're doing only this at home, it is, oh my God, it is setting you up to fail doing something like this at home, where you're not getting paid like on the clock. So you don't want to go like overtime. So you make sure to get all your stuff done in the time you're supposed to be working, because that is all you're getting paid to do. So you need to get it done then. There's really no timetable, and everything is literally all on you. Plus, it's literally all on you from the MLM, because they're going to blame you when you're not successful, even though it goes both ways. Of you can put in all this work and it won't guarantee success, and everyone else can put in all this work and it still doesn't guarantee success, because most people aren't successful.
I'm going to set a 5-minute timer, and I'm just going to send out as many messages as I can in 5 minutes. Sometimes it's 30, sometimes I go buck wild and get out 50, but sometimes I get distracted and it's like 10. But I did 5 minutes.
Before you're getting blocked, like, she has to be one of these people who gets everybody's phone number, or she goes platform to platform to platform.
Minutes, and I was focused, and I only did that one thing. And then I can reassess, and I'm like, okay, in that 5 minutes, did I do enough that I can move on to something else? If not, I'll do another 5 minutes. If I did, I'm like, okay, what's next? I need to grow my network. Okay, probably takes me about 2 minutes. I'm going to set a 2-minute timer, and I'm just going to send friend requests.
Yep, don't accept friend requests from people you don't know. I know that seems like common knowledge, but as someone who sent out friend requests to people I didn't know on the internet, and some people actually a lot of people accepted it, please stop. If you don't know them, don't add them to like your personal pages. Okay, like if you can like follow them, fine. Or you're like following someone on Instagram, like if you're following me, that's cool. Like we're not gonna be mutuals though, unless like I actually like have a connection, want to see like your personal life, which no offense, but like I probably don't. I just want the commentary. I like the barrier.
In that 2 minutes, I'm gonna go send out follows. Then whatever gets done, gets done. You know what I mean? So that way, like, there's not pressure on being like, okay, I gotta get out 100 messages. I'm just gonna sit here for an hour and I'm gonna one, two, like, no, just get a good chunk out, and then whatever it is, like, reassess, do it again later. That's something that really, really helped me because I used to think I had to sit at my desk for like 8 hours to get the whole task list done in one sitting, but I just do like 5, 10, 15 minute spurts throughout the day, and that's what has helped me so much. I forgot your initial question.
Last question I'm going to have for you is, if you could go back to when you started, what is the piece of advice you would give back to the new you, having no idea what was going to change over the next 8 years?
You know what's so funny is I have asked so many people this question in the last year, and this is the first time that I've been asked, and I'm like, wow, so this is how they feel when I ask. I mean, I could say so many things. I mean, me at 20 years old is so different than me now at almost 28 years old. Truly, I feel like the biggest piece of advice, oh gosh, this is hard. I feel like this is so much like pressure. Um, just don't don't quit. Like truly take it off the table because in the almost 8 years I've been here, quitting was never an option for me. It truly
Quitting was never an option for me because I genuinely was so brainwashed in multi-level marketing that I didn't think anyone would hire me. And at a certain point, when you have a 4-year gap of, well, not a 4-year gap of employment, I think like a year and a half in employment, or maybe 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years gap of employment, and you don't have kids and you don't have a good explanation and you're too ashamed to put MLM on your resume, please, if you join an MLM, maintain your real job. Do not breathe a word of your MLM stuff to your coworkers. If you're friends with them on social media, block them from the post. Do us all a favor, okay? Do not mix that. Maintain your real job. You're gonna be glad you did. At the end of the day, when this all plays out, you're gonna be glad you did.
never was. And there's no plan B for your A game, you know? And so for me, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to be at the top one day. And that one day could be 30 years from now. And I don't care because when I'm committed to something, I'm all in, you know? And so
I said stuff like this in MLM. I'm a lifer. I'm gonna be on the white couch. I'm gonna buy a Toyota Tacoma because that was my dream car, one of them. And I actually went to a dealership to see a man about that.
really just I ran with it, and that didn't mean that I didn't have hardships, that things didn't go my way, you know, or that they always went my way. Like I've had a lot of stuff happen in my life and my business, but truly, like at the end of the day, even still 8 years later, this business is what pays for my groceries, and that's what I joined for. And when you look at it any other way, you're like, oh well, this
She could be saying that on this call, and that is all the MLM is paying for. She could be sitting here sweating, wondering why she's wasting time on this call because she actually can't pay a different bill. She's like, fuck.
way, you're like, oh well, this girl over here, she joined like a year after me and she's so much more successful. Or this girl over here, like we're like the same age and she's making more than me. Or oh my gosh, that girl in our team chat just enrolled another customer and I haven't even enrolled one yet. Like, well, it doesn't matter because every person's journey is the
No, that does suck because the girly pops that I was on Zoom with nearly every day were higher up in the business. Like they were in like real ranks. Like I think double diamond. I think double diamond at one, and then the other one was triple at one point. So working on Zoom with people who actually were enrolling sucked out.
exact opposite of your journey. We're all on different paths. We all have different lives. We all have different circumstances. Truly, like just keep your blinders on. Remember why you joined.
In that aspect, I genuinely liked being on Zoom with those girls. We're still friends to this day.
This. I joined this business to pay for my groceries. And as long as that is done, that's all that matters to me. And don't get me wrong, it pays a lot more than that. And I get to do a lot more things because of it. And I'm so blessed and so grateful that this platform allowed me to be here. But I always remember, like I actually talked to one of my girls about this the other day. I just remember, oh God, I'm not gonna cry. What drives me in this business every single day, it's not the money, it's not even the groceries, it's not even my, like, it is my team, but it's not my team, it's not me, it's not my future family, it's not any of that. I remember the pit in my stomach when I didn't have food to feed myself. I remember the pit in my stomach when I was standing in the line, knowing that my card was going to decline and hoping that by chance it would go through. I remember the anxious feeling of knowing that I was getting an eviction notice. I remember the stabbing feeling in my body.
And that's what keeps her on this hamster wheel, is that fear. And it's been 8 years. And I don't know if she like quit her job shortly after joining itworks, but she's been in for 8 years. And if she hasn't had a real job this whole time that we don't know about, she probably thinks like how I thought, because we have a lot in common with our stories from itworks, where she might not think she can go get a normal job after this. Or it could be really hard for her to do that because she dropped out of college.
When I knew that I was going to be walking into a hotel room after working 3 jobs, like those pits that are in your stomach, a lot of the time people think, okay, I have to work this business for my kids. I'm working this business to pay off my debt and all those things. And those things are true. But what drives me is what I'm not wanting, what I know I will never have to experience again because of this business. And that's what pushes me every day. And so what I would encourage you and challenge you to do is figure out what that is for you. What's your pit? What's that pit in your stomach that you're just like, if this happens, I will crumble, right? I will never have to experience being homeless again. I will never have to experience being, I mean, we're humans, we get hungry, but like I will never be hungry and not have access to food.
As long as you stay on the hamster wheel and you maintain whatever rank, like paid as rank, pays those for you. Not because, oh, well, if you don't show up for work, obviously you're not going to get paid. No, 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 no. It is a lot more than that. It's insidious, I would say, because you can't guarantee, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to do the work, I'm going to do my job, I'm going to do it good, whatever that is. And you know you're going to get paid. You might not promote tomorrow, but you know you're going to get paid. You know, like generally what that paycheck's going to look like. You can budget for it. Start couponing. That's my advice to everyone. Start couponing, okay? It's so fun for me. And I lost my train of thought, okay?
Food. You know what I'm saying? What's your pit? That's what's going to drive you when someone says no. That's what's going to drive you when someone quits, because it's inevitable. I've had thousands of people quit, you know? That's what's going to drive you when volume changes. That's what's going to drive you when you push so hard for a goal and you knew it was going to happen and you miss it over and over and over again. That's what's going to drive you, because you will never have to experience that again. And that's what you can do with this business. And so I know that was a heavy answer, but truly, like, find your pit, put your blinders on, take quitting off the table, because when you take it off the table and it's not an option, trust me, you're going to work your butt off and you will make so much more happen, rather than you have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and you're like, oh, that's okay. If it doesn't work out, I'll just go do something else. Like, okay, then go do something else. You know what I mean? Like, make it work. Like, what's the saying? It's like, SHIT or get off the pot. You know what I mean? Like, truly, like, this business can be a vehicle for you in any avenue you
I'll help you out for all the Christians who don't want to cuss. It's shit or get off the pot. We're grown-ups.
want for your legacy, for freedom, whatever it is that you're looking for. All you got to do is be consistent. And what we do is so simple. You just have to do it consistently over time. So I hope that was what you're looking for.
Drop a middle finger if you thought that was absolute trash. I'm just kidding. Don't drop middle fingers in my comment section, please. Okay, it'll hurt my feelings. If you like that video, give it a little likesy poo. If you have commentary ideas, share with the class. Leave that down below. And if you made it to the end, because right now my filming has gone on for 59 minutes, shout out to you. You can clap for yourself and I will clap back in the comments. We will celebrate together because you're a real one. Also, like the video if you liked it. Leave your commentary down below for the class. I feel like I already said that. Share it with your besties, especially the ones who were in itworks previously, and subscribe. Yeah, I can't remember how my own saying goes because I actually haven't filmed in like 2 weeks. So thank you guys again, and I will see you in the next one.